Okay, well, we'll just jump right into it. Ludo's going to be back up on stage. Ludo's with ForgeRock, and he's going to talk a little bit about life after Sun and OpenDS, and hopefully with some details on what's happening with OpenDJ.
Thank you, Kurt. I'd like to thank Peter for setting me up. First talk in the morning and first talk after lunch. I have to put some energy here. So, as you know, I'm now working for ForgeRock, and taking care about a project called OpenDJ, and that's what I'm going to present. But before that, 2 years ago, we had this conference called LDAPCon. It was in Portland. And I was presenting about the innovation we were doing with LDAP into the OpenDS project. And we had a lot of things going on. It was pretty fun. And my title at that time was OpenDS Community Manager. And then suddenly the music died. Yeah, we like that in ForgeRock. So ForgeRock is a company that was born right the day Sun died. I'm going to talk about our company, OpenDJ, what is the vision behind the project, where it is today, and where we're going, and talk a little bit about the challenges of doing a project like that. So, as I was saying, ForgeRock is a company that was created, I actually started the day right after Sun acquisition was finalized in February 2010. It's a Norwegian company. But we've expanded right now. We're incorporated in 4 countries. We're also in US, UK, and France. I'm the managing director for ForgeRock France, where we're doing mostly development. We're 4 in France working on OpenDJ. Our company is doing open source product, so we're really selling product and we're developing product. We specialize in identity management, in the sense that we have taken on the OpenAM, so Access Management Project. It was previously known as OpenSSO. We have OpenDJ, that was previously known as OpenDS, and we have another open source project called OpenIDM, which is a provisioning solution. So we have the full stack of provisioning or identity management portfolio. And our company is completely built on open source. Everything we do is open source. We have no secret sauce, no core strategy. Everything is open source. So it's trying to demonstrate that the strategy that Sun had with its open source strategy is actually working. And one of our chief strategy officer is Simon Phipps, who was responsible for the open source strategy at Sun. OpenDJ, it's hard to find a name. So it stands for Open Source Directory Services in Java. We tried to find an acronym that was short, and I was asked to have it with open. We avoided some terrible names like Open Identity Store, which turned into OpenIS. It's not very nice. So we stand for DJ. It's a little bit confusing for people. They don't understand what it is, but basically it's an LDAP server. It's a fork of OpenDS. We had to rebrand it because OpenDS is trademark, and it's forbidden to redistribute it under the OpenDS name unless it's done by who owns the trademark. And the other interesting thing is there's quite a lot of people that used to work on OpenDS that are behind OpenDJ. In ForgeRock France, we're 4. All 4 of us used to work on OpenDJ, so on OpenDS. Sorry, getting confused. So, as I said, we're continuing the project, 100% open source. Really, everything is open source. And we roughly have the same goal. The goal of OpenDS was to create a new generation of directory services that include all the services, and the goal was to replace Sun DSCE. We still have the same goal. We want to build a complete set of directory services. It includes a directory server, proxy, virtualization, and the toolkit. And eventually, we want it to replace Sun DSCE. But not only that. And the other three principles that were behind OpenDS are still there. We want our product or project to be very easy to use. It's very extensible, and the performances are really where they should be. So just a little bit about the 100% open source. What does it mean? First of all, we're still using the CDDL license, that's the original one. And everything we commit in the code in the source repository is under CDDL. It's all the code. It's also all the tests, unit tests. We have functional tests. There's everything that you get there is under CDDL. And if you want to run the tests on your set of machines, you can do it. So that's pretty unique. The amount of tests, I think there are right now about 31,000 unit tests that are run on a nightly basis. There's the functional tests. When we run them on our machines, they take about, I think it's about 14 hours to run the full test suite. And I don't remember how many tests there are, but a lot. They also have some non-regression tests and LDAP compliance tests that are there. The documentation is kind of open source. So it's under a Creative Commons license, unlike OpenDS. OpenDS documentation was published under Sun copyright, and therefore it's not available to anyone, or it's still available on the wiki for people to see it until the wiki disappears. And the other aspect of our project is we're do no copyright aggregation. So before, when you join a Sun project, you had to sign the Sun contributor agreement where you agree to give your copyright rights to Sun. And we're not doing that. We're only having a checkbox where you prove that what you give is actually under your copyright, but you have the right to give it. So just thank you. We have a chief strategy officer that knows open source. So the vision that we have is basically a single stack that builds all the services. We currently have the directory service. That contains almost everything, like the front end, the back end. But the proxy services are going to be built within that stack. So we're just adding a set of functionality on the same stack. And then we'll add the virtual directory services into the same stack. So basically, a same piece of code that will have different profiles and serving different roles, but a single stack doing everything. And with the same management tools, the same UI, and common code. So basically, one stack gives it all. The SDK is in the middle. It's where we're using, it implements all the protocol, and it can be used for client as well. So I say we do, we will. So today we have the directory server. It's done. I'm going to talk a bit more about which version and what's in there. We have a client SDK that is available. It is both a set of API and a set of tools. I'm going to talk a little bit about that just right after. We are planning on building the proxy services. We're just starting right now. We got a set of scenarios that we want to go through, and we are going to put pretty soon some architecture diagrams and a list of tasks to work through. And then on top of that, we'll add the virtual directory services. So the SDK, it is kind of work that was started a while ago. We worked on the API with the Apache directory project people, like Emmanuel mostly, trying to come with a common API for Java and for LDAP. There's one of the problems you have today as a developer. You want to use LDAP with Java. You can either use GNDI, which is probably, I think James Gosling coined it as one of the worst API you've ever seen on Java. Or you can use Netscape SDK, which I think last patch went into it about 3 years ago. It's almost completely dead. There's another one in OpenLDAP, but I think people are still fighting to decide who is going to own it. In other words, could someone else take it on, but I don't. I don't want. So Emmanuel and I started working about 3 years ago on trying to see how we could come with common APIs. I think we've done a lot of work trying to rationalize the API. Apache project actually went further along, and I think at some point we still have to do some work to catch up with what they've done in terms of APIs. But we're trying to get on a common API so that people can choose the library and write single code. It's a very lightweight API, very modern in terms of Java, so it uses all the languages, the properties of the language from Java 5. We have both synchronous API and asynchronous API, because when you want to build a proxy or different kind of services, you need the asynchronous API. There's a number of things that we have in the APIs, services that are more under the hood, like we have connection pools and the ability to do failover and load balancing automatically. It's built in the API, so you just need to focus on accessing the data, and then you have all the services behind. And it's available in our Maven repository. So if you need an API, you just point to the Maven and specify the version, and just click Maven, and it downloads the internet. And by the way, but it will download the SDK. In terms of directory server, nothing much changed since last time. It's completely complete LDAP v3 implementation. We implement a number of RFCs and standards. The list is definitely too long to hold on the slide, so the URL is there. Anything you can find in terms of LDAP RFC is almost listed there. There's a few of them that we don't implement, including the sync REPL. The model is the same as SunDS, where we have multi-master replication. We've changed that to make it easier to deploy, but it's pretty extensive multi-master replication. You can have as many masters as you want. There's different models for replication, doing read-only, filtered replication, and different kind of deployment. So one of the things that we've added is also a way to have another level of consistency in the loose consistency model, by making sure changes are seen or replicated on multiple servers before acknowledging to the client. So pretty interesting kind of deployment with that. In terms of security, we do everything that you need to do in a directory server: access control, SSL, password policy, password hashing, all these kind of things. There's a lot of things that you can monitor through LDAP, through GMX, through SNMP on the server, and some extensive logging for all access to the directory, all the changes in the configuration, plus all the error logging by default. We have QE, CLI, a lot of tools. And as I said, one of the key points of OpenDJ and OpenDS back in the time was the ease of installation. To get started with it, you just need to go to a website and click on a GNLP file. It will download, install a running server on your machine in less than 3 minutes. And 6 sleep. So that was the user experience, I think, is very important. So we've just released, or we're about to release actually at the end of the week, the OpenDJ 2.4.4. So that's basically the 5th release in 10 months at Fort Rock. They are mostly bug fixes release, because we're starting to get a lot of use, and there's some issues in corner cases, but I think in the main path of the server, there's absolutely no issue. So we're just increasing the reliability and stability of the product. And it's really ready to use in production. Since we started with Fort Rock, we had a number of customers that are deploying with OpenDJ. And I just wanted to show you a few of them to give you some ideas of the size of and the use of the directory. So I think the most impressive one, the one that to me is a little bit crazy. We had a bank that called us and evaluated OpenDJ, and they migrated from their existing directory server to OpenDJ in 2 weeks. They have 3 data centers, one in London and another one in Europe, another one in the US. They have 12 servers replicated, and that's containing all the users in a bank. That's about 200,000, 300,000 people. Another company in UK has 13 million users. They have 6 masters currently. They're planning on adding a disaster recovery center, which is going to add another 6 masters somewhere as standby. They will have a lot of money. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of crazy. The 6 servers are currently underused. I don't think they peak over 25% of CPU, but they plan to add another 6 server in case. But the interesting thing is, this is for access management and web single sign-on. They're doing about, at the peak, about 200,000 sessions at the same time. And so if the directory server is down, the user can't connect, and because it's video on demand, they don't like that. Another interesting thing about this company is when they want to do a migration, they make sure that it's not when there's a football match or a golf tournament or something like that. This same thing. So we also deployed OpenDJ, a cable service provider, where they have about 2 million users. They're adding 6 servers. So really, it's in production. It's working. There's absolutely no problem using it. So. We're working on a future version by the end of the year, which will add a few features that are missing. One that is already done and can be tested is pass-through authentication through LDAP. So instead of resolving the authentication and resolving the password, we just pass that to another server. Most likely it's going to be an Active Directory. So, people don't want to synchronize password out of Active Directory. We have a plugin that allows us to do Samba password synchronization, and that plugin has been contributed by a member of the community who is sitting in a room. Thank you, Nemanja. We have log filtering. We're going to add log filtering because one of the problems we have today is when you're doing a very high performance directory, when you have 60,000, 100,000 searches per second, logging each request is very intensive on the disk. So we're going to add a layer to filter that and only log certain events. Or if you want to log only the operations that have an issue, or only have the ones that are taking too much time. So based on an SLA or that kind of thing. And we currently ship as a zip. We have an SVR4 package that has been inherited from the storage days, but we're building for Linux most of the time, so we're going to add Debian and RPM packages. On the roadmap, the 2.5 is there by the end of the quarter. Then we're going to start really building the proxy services by the middle of next year. And then we'll have the virtual directory features after that. That's assuming we have all the resources and we're working against the plan. Hopefully, that will be the case. But if there are features that you're interested in, we're an open source project, so we're very happy to have more resources than expected. Some of the challenges that we see. I've been working for the last 3 years trying to build the awareness about OpenDS, and it took, well, 4 years. It took a while to take off, and I think it's been pretty successful with that, and I have to do it all over again. That is difficult. There's a lot of people that heard about OpenDS, but haven't heard about OpenDJ yet. So it takes time. It goes slowly. Don't have to be too much hurry. The main problem, I think, for us is building the developer community. ForgeRock is providing resources to work on it. We're starting to see people contributing on a regular basis, but a very small thing, and there is very few hardcore developers who want to take on working on a server. So that definitely one of the challenges, but I think it's the same for all open source projects, at least in the LDAP space. There are very few people who are coming to play with LDAP on their weekends or nights, and just for the fun. The other challenge, I think, as I said, is the documentation was under Sun copyright, so we have to rewrite it all. When we were doing OpenDS, we had about 3 full-time tech writers that were writing the documentation. We right now have 1. So we've done the administration guide, it's almost complete, but we still have a long way to go, and that's one of the biggest challenges with all our portfolio stack. That's putting back the documentation. But overall, it's an interesting project. We're definitely investing into it. Even if there's challenges, when you believe in something, the power is infinite. So that's just as long as you enjoy what you do and you can have fun, go for it. So that's almost what I wanted to say about the OpenDJ project. I could have talked a lot about the technical details and all the other things, but I'm sure everyone knows a lot of it, and we'll have other talks to talk about the technical details about LDAP. But it's there. There's a code repository. Everything is linked from OpenDJ.forgerock.org. We have a channel discussion on IRC that is actually, interesting enough, has more people than we had before in OpenDS. It's really good. And ForgeRock is just selling support subscription to it. So that's how we make money. We sell support and we invest to develop the product further. So, one last questions? Something? Avi.
The failover feature, how is that working? Do you reinvent the wheel, or do you use something existing for IP failover, or
well,
how does it work?
There are different ways to do failover. Regardless of how you do it, at some point you need an IP failover machine. Whether it's going to be talking directly to the LDAP servers, or you're talking to an LDAP proxy, at some point to avoid a single point of failure, you need to have IP failover to different services. The interesting part of the hardware failover is giving you one port, one access for your clients. So the proxy allows you to have to get an abstraction on how the directory is deployed, but you can't have a single proxy, so you have to have a set of proxies and then another IP failover in front anyway. But a proxy can allow you to fail over more gracefully. So if you have a long-lasting connection, it can restore the state of it, depending on how it's deployed. So most of the time, the proxy works with a proxy mode. So it has a pool of connection to the directory, and it does things using proxy authorization. So that's a way to avoid cutting the client application when one of the server goes down. That answer your question?
Andrew.
On the far end of your roadmap,
Yes.
that word appeared again, join, which is a bit of an alien concept. Could you explain what you intend it to mean in this case?
Yeah, when you do virtual directory, most of the time you're building views of data that is not in LDAP. You're building views of data that is in a database, in a file, or in an LDAP directory. At some point you have to merge that, so join the data to represent an LDAP view. So that join is really the joining of diverse data into one LDAP object that you're going to present through LDAP.
So a meta directory concept.
It's the virtual directory is kind of a real-time meta directory. So you join data from different things. And
so this is something that goes out of the back of the server rather than a new type of query where I can do an LDAP query with a something matches something and
it is something in the back end. It is not something that we want to add in the LDAP protocol.
Oh, good.
Got more questions? Anybody?
So I'm surprised. I have one more question, but I'm waiting.
Yes, so when do we restart working on the API now that you are ready to deliver one, and we are almost ready to deliver a new one? I don't think people want two APIs anyway, so I'm ready.
I agree with you. We absolutely need to work again. I'm very busy. I don't think I've ever been that busy for a long time. So there's a lot of things that we need to tackle. The API is one of them. We need to go back together and figure out where we are, how far away we are. I agree with you. Thanks for the invitation. Howard.
So along those lines, would it be helpful if we just deleted JLDAP from the OpenLDAP project?
I don't know. It's part of your project. So if you delete it, how many people are going to be unhappy?
Well, considering that we're all pushing not to own it.
No, I think somehow it is there. If it had a banner saying, well, this is legacy and here are the ultimate APIs, that would be probably better than just deleting it. Right. That's just my...
But we just want to steer people towards an API that they'll actually, will be useful.
Well, I think we need to have an official release of the API, and that most likely going to be Apache first. There, you're very close to it. Thank you.
What might be nice is to have some commonality between the C API and the Java.
So Andrew was saying that it would be nice to have some commonality between the C API and the Java API. And my response to that is, God no, the C API sucks.
That sounds like a call for a redesign of the C API, which is a good thing. Any volunteer or in C programmers? Okay.
Okay, looks like we pretty much wrapped it up.
So,
one last question, or?
Well, I have one last question. Nobody asked. What about OpenDS? Actually, somebody asked at lunchtime. This is sourced from holo.net, but I'm not faking it. Unfortunately, I think it hasn't been refreshed in July, but that tells a lot about how things are open source in OpenDS. Above is the number of commits going against the branch, and below is the percentage of committers for the last month of June, the past 6 months, and since the beginning of the project. So the interesting thing is there's a proprietary fork. So Oracle Unified Directory is actually the productization of OpenDS. Sun OpenDS was planned to be deployed, but that's all I know about it. So that should be it.
Okay, thank you. Alvin.